What is up, though, Lions fans? It's your boy Chef, and we are back. You already know what time it is. It is time for episode number 30, the big 3-0 of the YAK pod. Now, before we get started, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and subscribe. Hit that button down there, turn on your notifications. If you like what you're seeing, it helps the algorithm get on my side. And if you want the algorithm on my side because you like what you're seeing, you're going to go ahead and subscribe. Smash the like button and share. You already know what the deal is. Let's get to it. Now, today was going to be another cornerback breakdown. I was going to do Xavier Howard, but I didn't because I was checking out the Woodward heavyweights. Shout out Woodward Sports. Shout out Spimo Racks. Shout out Speak Easy Sports. Shout out Nicholas Koloff in the booth. Everybody. Shout out the whole crew. But anyway, they were getting into a heated debate about getting an elite player, as in L'Jarius Sneed, over some depth pieces. And then it kind of went into what is the value of an elite pass rusher and what is the value of an elite corner. And I think that's what we're going to focus on today. Now, if we look at Justin Madubuike of the Baltimore Ravens, they just gave him a 4-year contract worth $98 million. That is almost $25 million per year. And then you look at the Bears, and they've given Jalen Johnson a 4-year contract worth $76 million. So his contract is $22 million cheaper than Justin Madubuike's contract. Now, what does that mean? It means that pass rushers or defensive linemen are more expensive than corners. So what's more important to your defense as a Detroit Lion? If we look at the cornerback situation, we know we have been struggling mightily. Cam Sutton has not worked out. Again, as every time I mention Cam Sutton, I will mention his turf toe injury. When he was healthy, he was playing well. We didn't have any concerns about him. When he got hurt, then the concerns started to ramp up. And it didn't help that he was hurt and he was facing CeeDee Lamb. He was facing Justin Jefferson. He was facing Mike Evans. He was facing these types of people while he was injured. So it did not help us at all. And during that stretch, I think we gave up like 200 plus yards in 4 straight weeks to number 1 receivers. So it wasn't great. But we had Kendall Vildor, we had Jerry Jacobs, we had all these people, the revolving door of corners on the other side of Cam Sutton, because as we know, Emmanuel Mosley, who was brought in here to be number 1 or number 2, it would have probably depended on how well they were playing together, who was going to be the top dog and who was going to be the number 2. I believe that Emmanuel Mosley, had he been able to stay healthy, would have been the number 1 cornerback in this situation. But we already know what happened with Emmanuel Mosley. He came in injured. 3 snaps into his tenure with the Detroit Lions, he was injured again with the opposite ACL tear. So because of that situation, our cornerback room was in flux for the entire year. So now we're looking at bringing in L'Jarius Sneed. Of course, the Lions have been rumored to be in the L'Jarius Sneed derby because there have been like 5 or 6 other teams that have been interested. But Brad Holmes has tried to put his name in the hat. He's willing to trade for L'Jarius Sneed and to sign him to a big contract. If we're looking at Jalen Johnson being a lockdown corner, we're looking at something in the same amount of dollars, I believe, with L'Jarius Sneed. Jalen Johnson, of course, is younger. Both of them have proven it, but L'Jarius Sneed is a Super Bowl champion. So that may weigh in his contract, but I believe that they're probably going to get around the same type of deal. So what do we have to give up to get L'Jarius Sneed? I'm not sure what the picks would have to be. We might give up pick number 29. I would think that that's probably what we're going to give up, pick number 29 and maybe a 5th. I've heard that the Chiefs might go ahead and give back a 3rd. We don't really know the specifics, and especially with 6 teams being interested. There's all types of trade proposals going on. And just to remind you that the trade proposals have to be accepted by the other team. We were upset at the trade deadline when Brad Holmes did not acquire talent. He did not acquire a piece to help this pass rush. And we'll get to the pass rush in a minute. But it comes out a couple of days ago that Brad Holmes was trying to trade for Danielle Hunter. It was just that the Vikings did not accept the trade. Now, when the Vikings accepted, or when the Vikings traded for TJ Hawkinson, we accepted their picks and their package, and they should have done the same thing for us. But it is what it is. So we're looking at bringing in L'Jarius Sneed. Now, what would that fix? Hopefully, it would fix our cornerback room entirely. Now, if we bring in L'Jarius Sneed, obviously we'll be comfortable drafting some people at cornerback in the later rounds. Obviously, there would still be room to sign another cornerback as depth in free agency. I don't think that Brad Holmes is content with signing Emmanuel Mosley he's the depth piece and we're going to count on him. I don't think so, because we've seen him go down in 2 straight years with ACL tears, one knee after the other knee. So I don't think he's the one that's just going to shore up the depth. You don't know what you're going to have with him. He may be back for training camp. I've seen that he's ahead of schedule this particular time with his rehab. If you guys remember, with the other knee that he tore before signing with the Lions, he had all kinds of setbacks. I think he had like 2 or 3 setbacks with that knee. He may have had an infection and they had to go in and clean that up, so he had to get more than 1 knee surgery. But this particular knee is supposedly progressing much better and much faster. He's ahead of schedule this particular time instead of having setbacks. So now we're looking at a much better cornerback room. We're not worried about Justin Jefferson. We're not worried about Christian Watson. We're not worried about DJ Moore, because now we have L'Jarius Sneed. He's on our team. He's locking down that whole side of the field. Is he a true lockdown corner? I wouldn't say he's a true lockdown corner, but he's a dog and he's very close. I know when they went against Tyreek Hill, him and Trent McDuffie limited Hill. He did not have the type of game that he had been having all season. So when we hear about going against Tyreek Hill as Lions fans, we're just pooping our pants pretty much. We're not even thinking about anybody being able to shut him down remotely, because it's not even possible at this point, at this juncture in time, with this current iteration of the roster, which is why we're talking about adding someone like a L'Jarius Sneed. So that being said, I believe that it is important to get an elite corner if you can get one. Is it more important than getting an elite pass rusher or an elite defensive lineman? Now, if we look at our situation on the line, we were very good against the run in most weeks. Very good against the run. We didn't have a problem stopping the run, but we did have an issue getting to the passer. The stats, like Aiden Hutchinson having 11.5 sacks, Ali McNeil having like 5 sacks, that was pretty much our production. So we had 16 sacks from guys who were starters. Now, I know that there were other people that had like 1 sack or 2 sacks or 3 sacks, but that's not getting it done. That's not a consistent pass rush, which allows you to strike fear into the heart of the other team, or which causes other teams to game plan against our pass rush. Teams were pretty much just game planning against Hutch. As I said before in other episodes, Hutch was getting sometimes triple teamed. You know, the scheme was he gets hit at the point of attack by one guy, another guy comes over and chips, maybe on his way out, a tight end comes over and chips, and then a running back will come over and clean him up. as he tries to get into the backfield. So he was getting 3 people rolled over to him at once. And it happened a lot of times. Obviously, it wasn't all the time that he was facing three people, triple teams. It wasn't all the time that he was facing double teams, but he was facing those enough, which caused him to have more pressures than sacks. I mean, you're obviously going to have more pressures than sacks. I don't think anyone in the history of the NFL has ever had more sacks than pressures. That just seems like it wouldn't be possible. But I mean, any stat gurus out there can correct me if I'm wrong. So we've got Hutchinson, we've got Ali McNeil, and then we don't really have anybody. Well, actually, let's look at James Houston. Obviously, James Houston was a beast the year before last, but he missed almost all of the season this year, and they were trying to get him in outside linebacker and do some other things. So if they just bring him back as a pass rusher, and he can pick up where he left off his rookie season, I think that would bolster things. So we've got a guy over there on the opposite side of Hutch who is a dude, but we're just not sure that he is that dude because we didn't really get to see it in his second season because he missed it due to injury. However, that's neither here nor there. We're talking about an elite guy. Do we need an elite guy on the defensive line? Because you can just go one or the other. You've got to get an elite defensive lineman or you've got to get an elite cornerback. So with our pressure situation, we gave up lots of time to opposing quarterbacks. And when you give lots of time to opposing quarterbacks, a lot of receivers can look good. A lot of receivers, even receivers that you wouldn't say, oh, they're great, they're game breakers or whatever the case may be, a lot of them are going to look good. We have good safeties, but because of our cornerback situation, like I said, with Cam Sutton being injured and giving up, 4 straight games of 200 plus yards to a single receiver, does that happen if we knock the quarterback off of his square? Does that happen if we speed up the clock in the quarterback's head? Does that happen if we're hitting the quarterback all the time? Does it happen if we're getting the quarterback dirty? I really don't think it does. It's obvious that it does not. But is it more important than having a lockdown corner? We don't have a terrible defensive line. Our defensive line isn't terrible. It's not bottom of the league type of defensive line. We do have a dog in Aiden Hutchinson. We do have a dog in Ali McNeil. I'm more confident about us drafting a guy who can turn into a dog because we look at James Houston, and James Houston was drafted in the 6th round. Also, an elite defensive lineman is going to be more expensive. So then you take away some of the ability to get depth in other places. So I'm looking at leaning towards L'Jarius Sneed. I'm leaning towards a lockdown corner. But at the same time, if you're able to get like a Danielle Hunter and depth, and man, it's tough. It's tough because we know Danielle Hunter is on that radar. He was on that radar during the training at the trade deadline. He's got to be on that radar now in free agency. He's already gone. He's not returning to the Vikings. It would be very surprising if they got a deal done with Danielle Hunter. So I mean, it's tough, man. It's just looking at the different scenarios of who you're playing against. You can't, I mean, if you've got, all right, I'm going to say adding an elite defensive lineman to this particular line is more important. I'm going to say that it's more important than L'Jarius Sneed because it frees things up. You can't double, triple team Hutch because you've got Danielle Hunter on the other side that you worry about. So, I mean, you're going to have teams scheming left and right, trying to allocate resources to Danielle Hunter and Aiden Hutchinson at the same time. You've got Aleem McNeil in the middle. It takes no assets to get Danielle Hunter. So if you're able to sign Danielle Hunter in free agency and keep all of your picks, and then maybe even trade up for, Dallas Turner is a pipe dream, right? But if you were to trade up for someone in the interior defensive line, you could do that. Like if you just wanted to say, we're going to fix our defensive line completely this offseason, we're going to have one of the most dominant defensive lines in the NFL. We're going to have Hutch on one side. We're going to have Hunter on the other side. We're going to have Aleem in the middle. And then you're going to have a Byron Murphy in the middle with Aleem. That would be nasty, bro. That would be sick. So I'm gonna go with the elite defensive lineman is more important for us in this situation at this current time, and the way that our roster is built. We've already got 2 dogs on the defensive line. You only get 4 guys on the defensive line anyway, so it's like we already have 2 dogs. We have Aiden Hutchinson, we have Aleem McNeil. If we were able to get another dog in free agency with Danielle Hunter, and then possibly move up in the draft, or even if someone falls to us in the draft and get another dog. We haven't had a situation like that since Sue and the boys were here, and to see what they were able to do, and as far as getting pressure on the quarterback, they wreaked havoc back there. So with this current situation, I definitely am going to, just thinking about it, I've swayed my own opinion. Obviously, I'm thinking go get a dog as a Danielle Hunter. Now it's gotta be an elite guy. So go get a Danielle Hunter, and then just completely shore up this defensive line. Just have monsters down there. Run game, pass game, it's just going to be really, really tough to do much of anything against the Lions. And then you go ahead and get your, I guess you would say, bargain bin signings in free agency, as far as in the, I don't want to call them bargain bin. I want you to get a solid corner in free agency. We're not just going to go elite pass rushers, elite defensive linemen, and bums in the secondary. No, we need to get someone solid. Not serviceable, solid. There were talks about trading for Greg Newsome. It just came out that we're interested in the young guy from Cleveland. He's a good corner. He would instantly be the best corner on the roster if he came in here. So someone like that who's instantly going to be the best guy. And then you've got your elite defensive line across the board. I'm all for that. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you think I'm right, if you think I'm wrong, if you think something else, agree, disagree. Hey man, it's all love in the comment section. Appreciate comments, appreciate shares, appreciate views, appreciate subscribers, appreciate those who have the personal vendetta against the like button. I appreciate those people that smash the like button at all times. I appreciate those people who share with their friends, because they're the type of people that they tell friends. They let them know what's going on. They talk about the experiences that they have here, the fun that they have here. Shout out my guy John Lord. He's one of those types of people. But it is what it is, and you already know what it is, and I will see you next time. Peace.